What's going on? Corey Lennox here for Piano with Corey. And this is my lovely fiance, Anna.
Hi! I want a different
You want a different?
I hate the hi.
Well, then do something different.
Hello, citizens.
We could do that. What's going on? Corey Lennox here for Piano with Corey. And today I'm joined by my lovely fiance, Anna.
Hello, citizens.
And man, we're just chilling out. We're just gonna have a chat about weird music history stuff. So you've got your yogurt, I got some tea.
Yes.
We're just gonna talk it out.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm ready. Surprise me.
Alright, so I made some notes here.
Okay.
Now, of course, when we're talking about weird, composers,
Yes.
we gotta start with my man Mozart.
Oh, I love me some
The Mozarts. He was a very playful sort of dude.
I love him.
He had a very childlike energy that he was known for.
Yes.
And so one thing that he would do is he would get bored at rehearsals, and he would here, let me read my note here. Mozart liked to imitate a cat. He'd be rehearsing an opera with the singers when he'd suddenly grow bored and leap over tables and chairs, meowing and turning somersaults.
Incredible.
And then he even wrote a song where a woman is talking to her husband, but she's only responding to him in meows, which I could totally see you doing. And it goes to the point where he breaks down and starts meowing back, and it's called the cat duet.
I love it. First of all, I have initial thoughts. I'm thinking that Mozart was the cat that we were talking about earlier. He just would get bored at rehearsals, and then the conductor would be like, Wolfgang! Wolfgang! And he would be like, meow. Then if he got really mad at the violinist, I bet he would walk up to them and then I don't know,
Just detuning it while making eye contact.
Yeah.
Like the cat that just pushes the water off the table.
Yeah.
So, continuing on the Mozart train,
Love it.
he also created offensive nicknames for his friends, which I love. Here's a couple that he came up with. Duchess Smackbottom. That's going to be your new nickname.
Oh my god!
Princess Dunghill. Just be glad you're not Princess Dunghill.
We can all aspire to grow up to be Princess Dunghill one day.
I would rather have a smackable bottom than be called Princess Dunghill.
Are you gonna put that on my tombstone?
Maybe.
Anna Lennox, loving mother, wife, smack bottom.
Smack bottom.
I don't know.
And my favorite, here's my favorite nickname. Prince Potbelly von Pigtail.
Oh, that's your new nickname.
I need to get a pot belly and I need to get a pigtail before that'll work. But Mozart was the man. And so, some people thought, some historians think he had ADHD. Some people go as far as thinking he had Tourette's, which I don't necessarily think he did.
Right.
I think he could sort of turn off his silliness when he knew it was a big performance.
So you think that the Mozart of yesteryear is the Brendan Urie of this year?
Yes. Well, to see prank his band and stuff.
Well, he's a solo person. He's the only member of Panic at the Disco. I mean, he's just amazing to watch because he's just so high energy and just so on all the time. It's just you're getting Brendan 24 hours a day, 7 days a week,
I love how in every video we're going to come back to Panic at the Disco. Doesn't matter whether it's our all-star video, doesn't matter whether it's classical composers. Brendan Urie's going to make an appearance.
I just want to be his best friend!
Last fact about Mozart is
like him, don't you?
He's a character. He's a character. He's got a lot of stories. So, he has this famous opera called Don Giovanni. Okay. And he was basically out partying the night before, as you do, because he was a baller.
I mean, I wouldn't know anything about that, but
But, so, one of his friends was like, hey, don't you have an opera premiering tomorrow? You should probably write that, right, bud? And he was like, yes.
Wait. He hadn't even written it?
I think he'd written it, but he didn't have the overture. Okay. Right, so it's the overture that's part of this story. So he goes home and he writes the overture while he's under the influence. Okay. And I think also the next morning when he was hungover, he wrote part of it. Yeah. And then he handed it to the orchestra that day, and it was a hit. Wow. What a boss, right?
What a boss! The nerves on him. He's just I'm Mozart. It's fine. Just I prepared this morning. I'm
just gonna fly by the seat of my pants. It'll be whatever comes out. It's gonna be genius.
I want you to put a wig on me.
You want to channel your inner Mozart?
Oh, I do.
I think you could stand to do that because you would never leave something till that late.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't.
I think
Stress
sometimes
me out too much.
I think sometimes you get genius by being under pressure.
I would agree, but I also would argue that like you put yourself under a lot of unnecessary stress.
But maybe that's where the genius comes from. So moving on from Mozart, we're going to branch out into Beethoven territory.
Ooh, Beethoven, love my man Beethoven.
We don't just sit around talking about this, but we did sit around talking about this question. And I was like, do you think Beethoven ever met Mozart? And we looked it up, and it turns out he definitely did. He looked up to Mozart. Mozart was kind of like his idol, his Brendan Urie.
Oh my god.
And so he traveled to meet Mozart, and he had a recommendation of a mutual friend.
Yeah.
And Mozart was a little bit older than Beethoven, I think like 15 years older, so please fact check me on that. But so basically Mozart was like, all right, little boy, sit down and play me something at the piano. Which, can you imagine how horrifying that would be?
Yeah.
I'm a 30-year-old man who's been playing piano since I was a kid, and I bet if Mozart was next to me and he was like, play something, I wouldn't even be able to do Mary Had a Little Lamb.
Wait, you wouldn't even be able to
fall apart.
I'd be able to do my Mary Had a Little Lamb. He'd be like, this is terrible. I'd be like,
he'd be like, please, for the sake of the instrument of piano, stop playing. But so Beethoven sits down and plays for him.
Yeah.
And Mozart apparently, Beethoven played a Mozart piece. And Mozart said something else, something where I can get more of your character.
Okay.
So Beethoven played, I think, an original composition.
Oh,
wow.
The nerve on Beethoven!
And Mozart basically stood up and said, he said to someone else nearby, he said, you're going to want to watch out for this kid. He's going to be amazing.
Oh my god.
Yeah. But, so basically, Mozart agreed to take Beethoven on as a pupil. This was Beethoven's life dream, to study under Mozart.
Okay.
And, basically right as Mozart accepted him as a pupil, Beethoven got a call that his mother was dying of tuberculosis, or consumption as they called it.
Yeah.
So he had to travel back home. And by the time he was ready to go back and study with Mozart, Mozart had died. So...
Oh, that's so sad!
Yeah, Beethoven had a lot of depressing stuff happen
Oh
to
my
him.
god, I get it, Beethoven! Like, I get your music, but...
It's where the pain's coming from.
I get it, it's hard!
We all know he went deaf as well, which, as a musician, that's like the worst nightmare.
Yeah.
So that happened to him too.
Oh,
yeah.
buddy.
He didn't have the happiest story.
No.
But he touched millions of lives, and he's regarded as maybe the best composer of all time. So,
True.
in a sense, not that it balances out, but in a sense he achieved something that no one else has achieved.
Yeah. But also, I love how you were like, we're gonna branch away from Mozart, and the first story that you had took us right back to Beethoven and Mozart.
Well, it's sort of, the first two stories tie together.
Oh, I see.
Those first two tales weave together very seamlessly. So now we're in Beethoven territory.
Oh, we're in Beethoven
We're leaving
territory.
Mozart behind.
Oh,
He's, he was the last one.
If he mentions Mozart again, like,
so,
please. Just
here's the last thing about Mozart. Okay, so not Mozart, but Beethoven. He was so meticulous that every time he had a cup of coffee, he would count out exactly 60 coffee beans.
That is my level of meticulousness and perfection.
Yeah, it's like this has to be the exact right cup of coffee. I also count the exact granules of sugar.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah. It's got to be 724 granules exactly. No more, no less.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
How much cream though? Or
you just eyeball it.
Oh, you just whatever. It's fine. No big deal.
Next composer, Liszt, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So he was known for being like this very charismatic sort of like playboy. He invented the. People say he invented like the piano recital just to like show off and sort of like dazzle people with his skills.
Yeah. Okay.
So he got so many requests for clippings of his hair that what he did was just got a dog and would start clipping hair off the dog to send to fans.
I was like, oh, thanks, fans. Like,
yeah, here's
some
hair.
Fido. Yeah. Also, that's so weird that fans are requesting his hair. Though I guess we actually haven't come that far.
That still happens. Yeah, that's still a thing.
Why? What is the hair though?
I don't know. What do you do with it? Right?
Voodoo rituals.
You know what? Having that.
Clone them!
I was gonna say, having their DNA, you could really do some damage. You can make a clone.
I need control chords instead of one.
Oh, you're gonna clone me?
Yeah.
But yes, so he was such a womanizer that one of his illegitimate daughters actually ended up being Wagner's wife.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's like a special kind of like, that's like the Genghis Khan of music, you know? Like you spread your descendants so that like everybody that's a famous composer marries one of their children, you know? Like
that's a good strategy.
I love it.
That's not a bad strategy.
Don't get any ideas. Don't get any ideas.
This is the look of a man getting ideas.
No.
All right, so we're just gonna rapid fire a few quick ones.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to.
So just some one-liners.
Okay.
So Bach and Handel were both blinded by the same ocular surgeon, and his name was John Taylor. So they're both blinded by the same dude.
John Taylor should have had his medical license revoked.
I know, you'd think after you blinded like one of them,
you're like, oh god!
There'd be some clamoring for you to like stop practicing
baby.
your surgery or whatever.
Yeah. Why did they need ocular surgery? Do they have like cataracts or something?
I don't know. I don't know why they needed the surgery.
Just curious.
Yeah. We should look into that. That can be episode 2.
You did not research this enough for me.
I researched plenty. Grieg, who composed In the Hall of the Mountain King and Morning Mood, all that stuff.
Okay.
So he kept a frog figurine on his person at all times, and he would take it out and rub it before concerts
so
for good luck.
Cute. It's like a little like teddy bear that he just took with. Oh,
like an emotional security blanket.
Oh my god, that's so cute. I love it.
I found a little bit.
Precious little angel.
I found it a little bit more weird than endearing, but I'm glad to see there's a couple different ways to look at it.
No.
I wonder if he had a name for his frog.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I bet he did.
He probably did. You can't spend your whole life with the frog figurine and not name it.
Yeah. What is little frog in Austrian or something? German? Whatever
Again,
he is.
episode 2.
Can you imagine being his biographer and it's like, I've got to hunt down the last little piece of Grieg information. The name of
what was the name of his figurine?
Frog. Okay.
We'll find it. We'll succeed where the historians failed.
Oh, I'm excited.
Tchaikovsky had some mental health issues, which isn't a fun fact, but
fun.
So one thing he did that was sort of strange was he would hold his chin with his left hand while he was conducting, because apparently he thought his head was gonna fall off. Sort of a weird fear.
Sad.
It is really sad. Some of these dudes were not 100% well. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it takes a lot to be so genius.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. I mean, similar thing with like Van Gogh and the ear, you know? Sometimes artists do these crazy things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
I'm gonna try and not do anything insane.
Thank you, I really appreciate it.
Is this a sign I'm not genius enough? That I'm not crazy enough? I need to go off the rails.
You're plenty crazy.
I'm gonna get a frog figurine.
Okay, that's fine. I think that's adorable. Actually.
That's a good level.
That's fine.
I'm gonna start cutting off locks in my hair for my fan.
Not if I get to it first.
Eric Satie, he had a weird quirk where his diet consisted of white food. So we're talking like eggs, sugar, shredded bones, veals, rice, you know, chicken, white cheese, all that kind of stuff. Just everything had to be white for Satie.
Completely eliminates every vegetable under the sun.
Not cauliflower.
Or parsnips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
But I think we need more diets that are based off of food color. Like, what if I only ate orange? Like sweet potatoes, carrots.
You don't like sweet potatoes. So
that's true. I've learned to like them.
It's carrots and oranges. That's your diet. Like
you can live off that. And finally, I've got to throw in one more.
Okay.
You thought you were done, but then you weren't.
Yep.
Schubert was so short, his friends gave him his own special nickname.
Oh gosh, what is it?
Little Mushroom.
Oh, that's adorable.
It's so condescending. What's up, little mushroom? They're picking him up, they're playing catch with them.
Oh gosh. Monkey in the middle with little mushroom.
Alright, that's it for us today. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Drop a comment with your own music history facts. There's plenty more that we didn't touch on.
Yep.
And we'll catch you in the next video.
Piano on.
Piano on.